Now, the other day on Valentine's Day, fittingly enough, Lucasfilm announced the upcoming release of a new novel called The Princess and the Scoundrel, which will be about, as you can probably guess by the title and the little teaser image, it'll be about the new canon wedding of Han and Leia. And I say new canon version because, yeah, we got one of those in the expanded universe, and more on that a bit later in the video. Anyway, this wedding in the new canon takes place on the forest moon of Endor, shortly after the Battle of Endor, after Han proposed to her during the excitement of the victory celebration, which, yeah, sounds like something Han might do. It's also something we actually already knew. We learned this in the Aftermath trilogy, where Leia at one point mentions they got married on Endor and that it was a small ceremony, not wanting to attract attention or anything. But what we didn't know, the huge question left on the minds of everyone, or at least TMZ viewers, was where did they go on their honeymoon? And yeah, I know what you might be thinking. Would Han and Leia really go on a honeymoon right after the Battle of Endor? I mean, I could see a quick private wedding ceremony right there on Endor. That seems pretty fitting, actually. But a honeymoon? Really? Isn't the Empire still out there? Don't we have to worry about trying to turn this ragtag rebellion into something resembling a real government? Wouldn't Leia, as a leader of the rebellion, be a central figure in building and establishing a new republic as quickly as possible? Heck, wasn't she the one who said we have no time to grieve the day after her homeworld was destroyed? Would she really take a honeymoon at this point? Would she even take one day off, much less several, when so many things are in motion and on the line for the entire galaxy? Well, yes, she would take the time off because Disney has a very expensive hotel to book. Because, as will come as a surprise to virtually no one, Han and Leia will be going to Disney World for their honeymoon. And I mean that almost literally because they'll be taking a cruise on the Halcyon, also known as the Galactic Star Cruiser Resort in Disney World. And look, I don't necessarily care that this hotel even exists. I mean, from everything we've seen, it looks pretty overpriced and not very Star Wars-like. But if you're someone who really wants to go, who am I to tell you what to do with your money? Assuming you can afford this because it's like $6,000 for 2 nights. That said, I'd greatly prefer, if Disney didn't try to do this strange blend of real-world stuff and actual Star Wars canon, like how they're trying to make the planet Batuu a thing in canon because that's where Galaxy's Edge is located, the theme park in Disney World, or Disneyland. And that theme park is supposed to be, it's actually supposed to be part of the canon too somehow. When you visit, you're supposed to be in the real Batuu, or on the real planet Batuu somehow. And though, as I've said before, I am someone who likes everything to kind of make sense and to be canon, to all blend together, you don't need to do literally everything. In fact, please don't do literally everything. Please stop putting something like Coca-Cola into the canon because they gave you a bunch of money and you want to sell some overpriced drinks in your theme park. Things like that, again, my opinion, they cheapen and do a disservice to Star Wars. You pull that curtain too far back and let us see and know what we already know, to be honest with you, but that we don't want to be reminded of constantly, that Disney doesn't really care all that much about Star Wars itself, about the integrity of the story or the stories, the integrity of George Lucas's work, or anyone and everyone else who's ever worked on it along the way. You know, like, for example, Dave Wolverton, who wrote The Courtship of Princess Leia in the expanded universe, where Han and Leia got married the first time around, and then end up sticking together instead of breaking up eventually. But anyway, all things like this do is tip your hand, Disney, to overtly show us it's all about the money. You only care about what Star Wars can be used for, what you can do with it to make a profit, not what you can do with it for the fans, which, ironically enough, would probably make you a lot of money in the long run too. Because the idea that Han and Leia took a cruise for their honeymoon right after the Battle of Endor makes no sense on so many levels in story. I already went over the fact that there's almost no way Leia would even take a day off, much less several. But then there's also the fact that which one of them actually wanted to go on a cruise, of all things? I really can't see it being Leia's idea of fun and relaxation, and I sure as hell can't see it being Han's idea of fun or relaxation. If anything, I could just see them spending a single day somewhere alone together before getting right back to it. And I don't think anyone in Galaxy or out would really blame them for that, even though I'm not entirely sure they'd even take that much, not even one single day. Now we'd consider how crucial everything is at this point in time. And yeah, I know there's probably a lot more to the story, to the book, than just wanting to take a cruise. They probably go, they go undercover on the ship to root out some Imperials or Maybe they will be negotiating with others across the galaxy to try to bring the New Republic together. I'm sure there's going to be, again, something more to it than just Han and Leia want to go on a cruise. But we'll still know what's really going on here. We still know the real reason this book is being written and published, and no offense to the author or anything like that, but we know why this is happening, and it's not because they have a great story to tell. In fact, we'll know there could be a better story here, or no story at all, really. Not if they instead just spent that one single day together with nothing and nobody else around them, which I'd imagine would sound like a dream come true to them after fighting a war for years. And in Han's case, days after being thawed out. Let's not forget about that he spent a year and a half in carbonite, and probably wouldn't mind that day to decompress. Problem is, if that's all they did, if they just spent that one day together, which sounds, again, just kind of perfect for them, and I think fans would really just like that sort of thing. Well, if they did that, they couldn't charge a premium for the Han and Leia honeymoon suite, which you know will exist in their hotel, which you know is the real motivation for the creation of this book, to charge a fortune for the quote-unquote actual room they spent their honeymoon in, and the room they probably made Kylo Ren in. And speaking of that, of the fate that awaits Han and Leia, Disney does remember they split them up in the sequel trilogy, right? Which means I'm not so sure it's a good selling point for potential honeymooners to say to the newlyweds out there to come to Galactic Star Cruiser. This is where Han and Leia begin their marriage that ended in disaster, not only for them, but for the whole galaxy. Okay, and to dial down the sarcasm a bit, and to only scratch the surface of a much, much bigger conversation, what I don't like about this, and mind you, in the grand scheme of things, I really don't care that much about this. It's just a book and a hotel, both of which I can pretty much ignore. Even though, like an idiot, I'm going to read this book when it comes out, and I'll bless you all with a review of it, probably. Anyway, even though this really doesn't matter all that much, the part I don't like, and again, this is only a small part of a bigger discussion or a bigger problem, is that I don't want Disney's real-world decision to create a hotel to influence what they do in story with Star Wars. All I really ask for out of Disney, and I don't think it's that hard of a request, and if they could hold true to it, I'd happily hand over my money to them. I just want them to value and keep the integrity of Star Wars intact. Or at the very least, pretend they care about the integrity of it, and do as well as they can, mainly by allowing others to run the show or call the shots about the story. Because yes, there are people within Lucasfilm who do love and care about Star Wars and are passionate about creating it and can create great things with it still. People not entirely motivated by money, but instead motivated by the love of what they get to do. That's one of the main reasons I don't give up on Star Wars, because though I do not like Disney per se, I love Star Wars, and I know others within the company, believe it or not, they love Star Wars too, and from time to time we do get some really good Star Wars. As I've said before, I don't necessarily have a problem with Disney owning Star Wars. I don't even care in theory that they care only about the money. Or I wouldn't if they let people run Star Wars who actually care about Star Wars, which would probably make them even more money in the long run if they made it out of love for the fans, if they went back to trying to make it for anyone who does and would love Star Wars for what it is, instead of always trying to engineer it to be something for absolutely everybody, instead of making hotels that really are way overpriced for the average person, and are just trying to sucker in Star Wars fans, to be completely honest with you. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Like I said, there's a bigger discussion here, one I've gone into before, and I know I likely will again at some point, probably in the near future. But for now, tell me what you think about this. What do you think about this book and this idea that Han and Leia would take a cruise for their honeymoon, even though, yes, there's probably a reason why they go? How do you feel about it? Let me know in the comments below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.